Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be doing a little flip through of my Hobonichi Cousin of Vec. I was going to call this a Q3 flip through, but then I realised I didn't actually use this book in July, so I haven't used it for the whole quarter. So it's kind of like a 2/3 of the quarter flip through. I'm going to start at the monthly pages, skipping the yearly ones. This is because I've converted the yearly page in here into a health tracker. And to be honest, I don't really want to share all my health data over the internet. Doesn't seem sensible. So yeah, we're going to skip that page and go straight through to the monthlies, if I can find them. So, first monthly page to discuss is August, because again, July is empty because I didn't have the book in July and I couldn't be bothered to backfill. So here we are. August was a bit of a weird month for me, and I think you can tell that in this spread. I mean, not least because of this particular week here that is just illness. What I was doing was habit tracking, basically. I had a different colour highlighter for every type of habit I wanted to implement, which ended up looking not great in my opinion. Like, there's just too many colours going on that don't really match. It's just a bit all over the place and it assaults my eyes. Anyway, I used these highlighters, wrote in each day which habits I'd engaged in. One thing that makes me happy is how often I did engage with my special interests, because as an autistic person, that's super important to me. And it's good to know that even in a weird month like August, I prioritised myself in that way. But yeah, other than that, you can see a lot of the habits are pretty sporadic, to say the least. Closing note about this spread is that I hadn't actually intended on decorating it at all. I thought it was just going to be like purely functional, but in that month, I think I received a huge order of Coffee Monsters Co. emoji stickers, and I was just really excited to use them, so I did. The spread's a bit of a mess, but at least it has cute stickers, and it did serve a purpose at the time. Moving on to September though, because I much prefer that, and I want to look at it as soon as possible. Here we have a very autumnal spread, first of all. I was just so excited for it to be autumn that I was like, we're going all in. We're going to use the autumnal stickers. This month, I continued to track some things, mostly special interests, just making sure that I actually did engage in them every day. And having to write down what I'd done was like a good accountability method for that. Beyond the special interest stuff, I tracked some health things like mood and, energy levels and just other health stuff with these tiny little icons. But I didn't end up liking that very much because I think there's just too much going on here again. Like, there's all the health icons, there's the special interest stuff, there's just random notes about anxiety and other stuff that I was doing that month, and it was just a lot to look back on. It just feels like I information vomited everywhere, and I don't really like that. So, lesson learned, don't try and cram all of the things into one type of spread because you just end up overwhelmed by the sheer amount of information on this page. So yeah, let's move on to the weekly pages. This was the first weekly spread I filled in this book because, as I say, didn't use it in July. But yeah, you can kind of tell that this is experimental because it's a bit of a mess. Again, this is just the recurring theme of these spreads so far is mess, chaos. I knew from the start I wanted to use these pages as a way to just track the basics of what I did each day. I just wasn't sure how I was going to do it. Here I was just trying out different heading styles and, putting a bit of decoration in here and there, but it doesn't really pull together, like it's just a bit random. The next week, however, was when I started to come into my stride with this. I started using the AM, PM, Eve headings consistently, which is my favourite way to split this up. I also continued with dividing lines in a set colour. And in this spread, I feel like the decor pulls together a little bit better. Like, it is still a bit random. Like, there's just a sticker here and there from different shops, and they kind of have the same colour scheme, but not really. The point being, I was getting there, but this was still looking a little bit random and haphazard decoration-wise for my liking. So yeah, this was the week when I really nailed down what I wanted the format to be for this, but I was still finding my feet with how to make it look pretty, basically, because I wanted these to look a bit more aesthetically pleasing. And I think I achieved that starting this week. I once again picked a set colour scheme, varied it up with green this time, go me, and I finally settled on a kind of decorative style, and that was using an emoji sticker from the Coffee Monsters Co. every day to sum up something that had happened that day. So, for example, on that day I was feeling particularly sleepy, and I put a little Snorlax emoji to represent that. I ended up really liking how these emojis looked. They kind of gave me a set pattern to follow every day for decor, which I really need. To have settled on a style and like a set rule for how to decorate really took a lot of stress out of the process for me, and I've been doing this ever since, as you will see on this particular week. This week I got really excited with the emojis and started doing 2 per day, which is what I've actually stuck with, and I really started writing about a lot of the nice stuff I was doing. I wrote about the limited things that I was able to do when I was ill, like putting some clothes away. And then I wrote about getting progressively more ill and having to go to the urgent care and get antibiotics. It was a bad time, not going to dwell on it. This spread, also a decent-ish spread. Would have preferred if the pink was not quite so bright. Anyway, on to September, my favourite month because it's the start of autumn. And this is actually probably my favourite spread so far. I love just like the colour scheme of picking the orange out of the space washi tape. I love the nice wide variety of emojis. I honestly love this one that's attacking the alarm clock because that's how I feel every day. Whenever my alarm goes off, I'm like, really? Not much else to say about this spread other than I love it. Let's move on to the next spread, which is another one that I really liked. It's a lot simpler. I didn't use a washi tape that week because I just felt like a break from it, to be honest. Instead, I just stuck with, the dividing lines to add a pop of colour. And yeah, I also stuck in this beautiful kind of watercolour circular sticker from Stick with Kate. It's got some forest trees and a little mountain, and those are the vibes I appreciate. So yeah, another lovely weekly spread that, as I say, I just look at it and I feel relaxed. This one makes me so happy. I don't know whether it's the colour or what, but I could look at this all day, but I'm not going to. That would be a very boring video for you. So let's move on to the next week. Oh, I keep saying this, but I adore this spread. This is actually my favourite spread so far. The space one comes a close second because this washi tape, oh my god, it's Starry Night inspired, I would say. Obviously it's not in the exact art style of Van Gogh, but the colours are very Starry Night. I mean, it is literally a Starry Night. So love the washi tape. Love the kind of pop of yellow to tie in with the moon here. And love the stickers. I really love these stamp stickers. They're kind of postage stamp style stickers of Japanese paintings, I think most of them, or Japanese pieces of artwork. They're really pretty. And they tend to have quite a muted colour palette, which I really like. As for how this week went for me, looking back, I mean, I had Ben & Jerry's fish food ice cream, so that immediately means it was a good week. I was very busy that week, both at work and in life generally. My mum was visiting, which was lovely, had a really great time with her. But by the end of it, I was extremely tired and ended up having a bit of a meltdown on the Sunday and having to rest. But yeah, it was a really nice week. I really enjoyed it. Also, once again, an Animal Crossing heavy week, evidently. Which, it's making me want to play it more. I've been so busy this week that I don't even think I've turned it on at all. I've got to go visit my villagers before they all start saying, where have you been? We thought you were never coming back, which always makes me feel terrible. Why does the game do that? It adds so much pressure. All right, before I have a full-blown Animal Crossing guilt crisis, let's move on to the next spread. I quite liked this kind of, I don't even know what pattern you would describe that as. It's almost like a giraffe pattern, but obviously it's turquoise, and I've never seen a turquoise actual giraffe, so maybe I'm interpreting that wrong. Either way, it's lovely. Looking back on this week, I think it was another busy one. We had a man come and fix our shower, the tile man, as I have called him, which, oh god, that was so stressful. Basically, all the tiles in our shower in a certain area fell off the wall, and it turned out that the wall behind the shower tiles had melted away. We're still not quite sure how that happened. Some water had got through, we think from like between the tiles or something, and it melted the plasterboard because the people who built the house hadn't used waterproof plasterboard in a shower. Make that one make sense. Anyway, this week we finally got it fixed, and it had been about 2 months since we'd actually had a working shower. So this was a beautiful week because we could finally shower in our house again. We had been just having baths because we do have a bath in a different room to the shower, which was very convenient, but oh my god, I will never take my shower for granted again. Having a bath every day is so time consuming, and a lot of water as well. It wasn't a good time, but this week was, because we got the shower back. It was also a good week for like music special interests for me, because on the Wednesday we got the like 1989 vault puzzles online, and we found out the vault track names, which was super exciting. And then on the Saturday we went over to Leeds to see the band The National. As I talked about in my last video, I loved it. It was such a good concert. They had so much energy. I love their music so much. I also feel like their music is just particularly special live, because a lot of it's like anthemic, you know, and you want to scream that in an arena with thousands of other people. It was just beautiful. This whole week was amazing. The only thing that mars this page for me is that for some reason I used a different pen for one tiny bit of it. Why did I do that? It looks so weird. Like, what was I thinking? Who knows? I don't know. Either way, I fixed the mistake the next day, got my usual pen, my trusty Pilot Friction. But yeah, why do I do the things I do? Even I don't know the answer to that. Moving on. The final spread I'll show you in the weekly section is this one, the kind of last week of September and 1st of October. And I went with an autumnal theme. Like, I felt it was truly time to bring out the burnt orange pen, the autumn-themed tiny little stickers, which I got as a freebie, actually, from Colour Cafe on Etsy, colour spelt with a K. It was kind of like a cozy autumn sticker sheet, and I loved it. I also started breaking out the pumpkin stickers, because you've got to. It's October. It's basically illegal not to be spooky. And otherwise, I had a bit of a weird week again. That week, I had a migraine. It did kind of put a real spanner in my week, because the first 2 days I was like pretty out of it, except for the Monday evening, actually. The Monday evening, I went into town to meet one of my co-workers in real life, which is the first time that's happened at my current job because it's fully remote. And during that meal with the work friend, I actually felt completely fine again, which with hindsight is probably because I'd just really dosed up on painkillers. Like, I thought the migraine was passing at that point. And then the next day it came back, and I laid in bed a lot that day. So I ended up being super behind on everything. And on Wednesday, even though the migraine was gone, I often find that straight after a migraine, I'm just absolutely zapped of all energy. Like, I can barely stay awake, so couldn't really do very much. Had to skip book club because I just wouldn't have been awake. It wasn't a good time, but the rest of the week was much better. I got my hair done, I had great meetings, and had therapy, which is always a good time. Well, okay, sometimes you have to talk about difficult things, and it can make you feel a bit worse at the time, but then afterwards you're like, you know what? I'm glad I got that out of my system. And then the Saturday was when I hit 1,000 subs, and that happened while I was seeing my family. It was a very good time. Saw Jasper, the family dog, who is an extremely good boy. He's a Cocker Spaniel and we love him to bits. For the rest of the weekend, I think I just chilled because, yeah, I needed it. After the migraine, it takes a while for like my full energy to come back, so I just slept, played Animal Crossing, watched the Rugby World Cup. I'm a big fan of rugby. I think it's way more exciting than football a lot of the time. Anyway, yeah, that is that for this weekly page, and that is that for the weekly pages so far. In terms of going forward into October, I'm just going to do the same thing. I really like this setup. I love splitting up my day into 3 sections. I love using the emoji stickers. I just love how this is working for me. It's been a really helpful way to remember what I've actually done each day. Because, yeah, otherwise I probably would forget 90% of what happened in my life if I didn't write it down. So, glad that I started this memory keeping practice in these lovely weekly pages. All right, we have made it to the daily pages, and I'm going to dive straight into these because there's a lot of divergence in style for me to explain, particularly as we get into September. I went into a very experimental phase in here, but starting in August, of course, I was using my pretty typical layout of gratitude log on the left-hand side and daily log of just like basic stuff that happened on the right-hand side. At this point, I was using a heading for the daily log, but I kind of got rid of that eventually because it took up too much space and I just wanted like as much space to write my thoughts as possible. I also, on every daily page, have done a little bit of decoration. On these pages, it's stickers. This is just like a nice aesthetic purple rainbow moon sticker. A lot of things going on there. And this is a sticker that looks like a pressed flower. I thought these were beautiful. In terms of what I was writing about, I was struggling quite a bit with anxiety, I think, in these couple of days, which is why the gratitude log is perhaps a bit short on that day because I was too anxious to think of things I was grateful for, which is a shame because you probably need gratitude the most when you feel bad, but it feels the hardest to access at that point. Anyway, yeah, 2 days here where I was struggling a little bit with the old anxiety. And again here, in fact, yeah, health anxiety. That is the bane of my existence, to be honest. It's been a real struggle to overcome for me, I think, because the thing about health anxiety is there's always going to be like a 0.00001% chance that you do have some kind of horrible disease that you just don't know about yet. Like, it's not like you can open up your body and have a look and like check that there's no illness there. There's no way of confirming that the anxiety is false, basically. I mean, like, a lot of the time, the probability that it's true is very low, but then the anxiety brain is like, but there's still a chance. Moving on though, what was happening the next couple of days? Let's see. I did some practice doodles with my new brush pens that I've got. Needless to say, I am not an artist. I don't even know what type of flowers they were supposed to be. They are what I would describe as wonky, if I was being polite, but you know, I enjoy drawing. Who cares if I'm good at it, right? Here, though, at least, there are some beautiful illustrations because I did not do them. These are Megan Rhiannon's gloomy stickers. Looking at the notes here, it seems like it was a fairly quiet weekend. I'd been doing some shopping on the journal shop. I did a strength workout. I haven't done one since, and it's exactly 2 months after this date, so doing well with the consistency there, but never mind. Moving on again. Oh, the mushrooms. This is where I went on a walk and the field, like kind of near our housing estate, had a ton of ink cap mushrooms. And it does right now, in fact. It has them all over the place and they're beautiful. I think on this day, I also got messages from like a few different people saying that seeing my journal pictures on Instagram had inspired them to start journaling. That honestly warmed my cold, dead heart. Like, that is why I do this, to hopefully inspire other people to start journaling, because I think it's just such a valuable practice, and to have people directly say like, yeah, you inspired me, was just, I think I shed a few happy tears, put it that way. The next day was less good, evidently. I can't even remember why, like, I just said it was not a good brain day, so I guess, health anxiety, once again, ruining a day for me, but never mind. I really hope the next couple of days were better for me after all these anxiety spells I was having. Let's see. Oh, yeah, okay, this was definitely a good time because Taylor Swift had announced 1989 Taylor's version. That's all I needed to feel better. Anyway, yeah, other than that, not much to report these couple of days apart from, oh, well, my washi tapes from the journal shop arrived. I think that's why I've got a washi tape here. I think I tried to cut it in half here because I thought it would look cool, but it just looks a bit odd. Learned a lesson there, at least. Let's move on so I don't have to look at that anymore. Oh, I love these kind of apothecary themed stickers. I've got like a whole packet of them and it's just things like random specimens in jars. Basically everything a witch would need. I love that. I love the witchy vibes. Oh, that was when we went to Knaresborough for the day. Knaresborough is a very pretty little town. Has a big viaduct. At this point, mid-August was rolling around and, well, I was sleepy, but that's nothing new. I really liked how this page in particular turned out because, again, it's these lovely stamp stickers with the Japanese artwork. I just love them. I just love the colours and the style. It's just beautiful. I was also super excited in these couple of days because I spotted bats in our garden, and they've been back pretty much every night since, just swooping around eating the flies. And yeah, I love bats. They are definitely a special interest of mine, and I think they're beautiful. Interestingly, this was where I also stopped using the daily log heading. This was when I'd obviously decided it took up too much space, although I then took up a ton of space with this, so I don't know what I was thinking there, but never mind. Moving on. Oh, well, seems things weren't going too well this week. I was just very overwhelmed by work. There were a lot of things to edit, and I did not feel like I had enough time to do it, and I was stressing myself out. I hope that weekend I got some rest at least. Okay, so I think this is when things started going a little bit off the rails in this book. Yeah, you can see that I didn't fill the page here, which is very unlike me. And here I was backfilling because I'd skipped actually writing every day. I'm not quite sure why at this point, because was I ill? I had strange dreams, woke up just feeling overwhelmed and paralysed. So no, I wasn't like ill. And by the way, that was like metaphorically paralysed, not literally. Just like executive function paralysis. I think I was going through that, where you just kind of sit on the bed and you're like, I know I need to get up. And I know I need to brush my teeth and like have a shower, but I don't feel like I can move right now. And it's not a fun time because it's very hard to snap out of. Anyway, yeah, I was going through that on this day, apparently. As for the next day, yeah, okay. Here we get to why I was perhaps not feeling great that week. It was the anniversary of my nana passing away. She passed away last year, 2022, and this was like the first year since. And then, of course, I got a migraine. Well timed. To be fair, there's probably something in that. It's probably that I got so like grief-stricken and upset that I had a migraine, because I do find that my mood influences it a lot. If I get too stressed or upset, it usually triggers a migraine. So that's probably why that happened, unfortunately. But yeah, not a good week because, yep, woke up with an infection that day. I just was not having a good time. But on the bright side, love this Gloomy by Megan Rhiannon. Love the green colour. Very aesthetically pleasing. I'm not sure I want to dwell on these pages because, as I say, I was not having a good time. I thought the UTI had gone away and then it hadn't. Yeah, great. And then we reached the kind of crux of the issue where I got so ill that I had to go to the urgent care centre because I hadn't been allowed to get antibiotics yet because they make you wait 3 days to see if it goes away by itself. And it just didn't. And in fact, like, it just got significantly worse. So ended up in the urgent care. They gave me the antibiotics. I think that means that these few days I was probably feeling a bit better, or at least from the actual physical symptoms, if not the grogginess and the tiredness that the antibiotics caused, but never mind. These are some of my favourite stickers. It's literally just the moon. It's a pack, which is just moon phases. I think there's 2 of each phase as well, so you get a lot of moons. You will see repeated moons throughout my books because I just love the moon. And then the month ended as much of it had progressed with a bad day. I wasn't feeling great mentally or physically, and I was very excited for the start of a new month to hopefully get a fresh start. So let's see what happened in September. First thing to note is obviously we have departed from the format a bit. It was another not great day, and I think at the time I was like, you know what? I don't have to journal in my normal way if I'm not feeling it. Let's just do a pretty opening page for September. So I did. Lettered Hello September in the classic way and stuck in this picture of a pipistrelle bat because, again, I love bats. The bats were particularly active at this point, so it's relevant as well. And yeah, also got these nice autumnal themed stickers. The day after that, I made it through my gratitude log, but again, I think I just wasn't quite sure what to write for the journal portion, so I was like, let's not write anything and instead stick in a picture of my beautiful cat, who was sitting like a human, and also looked a bit like she was having a crisis of some sort. Like, look at those eyes. To be clear, she's a very happy cat and very well looked after. She just has resting existential crisis face, I guess. Moving on. Yeah, again, slightly weird pages here. I filled some of it with my usual journaling and then was like, can't be bothered anymore. Let's put a screenshot of Animal Crossing in. Moving on to this page, I evidently didn't feel like doing a daily log this day. So I just did a gratitude list that I think I'd intended to be the whole page, but then I just ran out of stuff. I was in a really weird headspace at this point, can you tell? Oh, all right, okay. Now we get back to normality for a little while. I also made an interesting change here. I realised that one of the reasons that I hadn't been as motivated to write is that I don't actually like writing long form in the Pilot Friction pen, because the ink just like, it's not a very pigmented pen and it runs out of ink very quickly. So if you're writing long sections with it, it just gets really annoying because the ink gets really pale really quickly and then it just runs out. So I still use it for shorter bits of the book, like I use it in the weekly spread, because I don't notice the ink getting paler as much if it's just like a short piece. But for these longer daily entries, I decided to switch to using my fountain pen, and all of a sudden I was way more motivated to write. I really liked these two pages in particular. I've got these really nice kind of sunset cloud stickers here, and on this page I've got these little mini watercolour moon stickers from Stick with Kate that have these really pretty like forest and plant designs in them. I thought the whole thing just looked really quite nice when put together like that. And I also got back to like fully filling the page with the journaling, which is always satisfying to see. On this day, I had very fun plans, as you can see by the doodle, which is probably one of the better doodles I've ever done. Like, that actually looks like what it's supposed to look like, which is red velvet cake. I had been to Olive and Bean with my friend Ruby and got this beautiful red velvet cake. It was, I'm still dreaming about it now. And we had a very nice chat and catch up. This was unfortunately another anxiety day, it seems. I'm not sure why August and September were quite so bad for that. And October so far, to be perfectly honest. I guess we all go through ebbs and flows with it, don't we? Anyway, I really like this washi tape with mushrooms on, and it kind of sparkles. That at least made me happy on this anxious day. And then, okay. Here is where we get more experimental. So I was going through it with the anxiety, and I was also just very busy with work and other things. And I was finding it hard to sit down and find the time to do my like normal journaling of gratitude and daily log. So I really experimented with different journaling styles that at the time kind of felt a bit less overwhelming to me. So to start with this page, instead of writing like a daily diary entry, I instead wrote a list of reminders for when I was getting anxious. As for this page here, this was backfilling. It had got to Sunday and I hadn't filled out Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So I was like, oh no, better write down some of the things that I've been doing. I got my nails done that day. What else? Also my Hobonichi order arrived that day and I filmed the video unboxing it. Here's where it gets very interesting. We switched to printed out text because I realised that I was super, super busy and I wanted to backfill what had happened on these days, but I genuinely didn't have time to like write it out by hand. So I was like, just this once, I'm gonna type it up and stick it in, because sometimes I just want to get the information down. You know, I wanted to focus on getting back on track, and for me the easiest way to do that was to type it up and print it out rather than writing by hand. So that is what I did for, in fact, I think 4 pages. Yeah. And I really like how these pages look because, well, for one, I've used this lovely washi tape from the Coffee Monsters Co. This was from her birthday drop, I believe, and it's Leonardo da Vinci inspired. I love it. Here's actually a photo of all the washi tapes I got from that drop. I also really love these planner stickers from Stick with Kate, this cats and books sticker from Bartista Shop. I'd put quite a few emojis on this page, like, it was just looking very cute. I did like how it turned out. However, I still do prefer writing stuff out by hand, you know? Like, this was a nice thing to do just to get it done, just to fill the pages, but I'm definitely a hand writer at heart, so I very quickly switched back to that. Here we are. But you will see, these are not journal entries. That's because this week, everything just went a bit to pot. Like, I was so behind on everything, and I didn't have time to write for days and days. And I was like, I can't even remember what happened on these days. How am I going to backfill this? So in the end, what I decided to do was just write out the lyrics of a few of my favourite songs at this time. They're all actually from Midnights by Taylor Swift. I wrote out Maroon, which is like my favourite song of all time. I wrote Dear Reader, which is another of my favourite songs from Midnights. The final song I wrote was Midnight Rain. The vibes are impeccable. The production, beautiful. I just love the colour scheme here. Everything pulled together so nicely. And I just love Midnights as an album. It's so good. More music things. This was when we went to see the National. On this particular spread about it, because like I've literally written about it 3 different times now, I decided to print out the album cover of the main album they were touring. I say main album, they actually surprise dropped another album about a week before the concert. So they were originally touring this album, First 2 Pages of Frankenstein, but then Laugh Track was released, which is like the sister album to that. And at our concert, we were lucky enough to get the debut live performance of the song Laugh Track from that album, so felt very lucky. Moving on to the Sunday, the day after the concert, I woke up with a migraine, which I think was actually the concert that triggered that one, unfortunately, because there were a lot of like LED lights and flashing lights, and it was obviously very noisy, so I think my brain just didn't enjoy that very much. I mean, I personally enjoyed it a lot, but from the migraine perspective, it was a bit of a perfect storm, unfortunately. On the bright side, I was really going in with the autumnal decorations here. Some nice berries and acorns, mushrooms and whatever that is. I'm not quite sure what that is. It's some kind of plant thing. And it's orange, so it's relevant, I guess. But this was the day when I met up with Ian, my work friend, and we had a great time. Less great day when I was back in bed with the migraine, but never mind. And then here, oh, I've crumpled the page. There we go. Here, the migraine had gone. We're back to a full day of happy journaling because I was not migraining. And what was I doing that day? Probably just trying to adjust back to non-migraine life, to be honest. And here we have the last September spreads. I think, yeah, this was a busy day at work. I was too busy, in fact, and feeling quite overwhelmed because I was still pretty fatigued from the migraine and yet had a really long to-do list because of the time off that I'd spent because of the migraine. And it all just felt very overwhelming. But on the bright side, the day after that, the Saturday, was wonderful. It was when I saw my family, like my dad's side of the family, for the first time in a while. It was when I hit 1,000 subscribers. Like, I was just having a great day. So at least, you know, it's a reminder that for every stressful day you're gonna have a great day. All right, I've been talking for too long. At this point, I'm gonna stop this video here. Thank you very much for watching if you've made it to the end. I hope that seeing my spreads was, if not inspirational, then at least enjoyable. And yeah, I will see you next week in another video.